Hello, welcome to my August reading wrap-up. Today I'm just going to tell you all the books I read in the month of August. I think I did 12 or 13. I have to double check. I just have my Goodreads here in front of me. And I'm just gonna open up all the books I read. August was a pretty good reading month for me. I know I did give a 1 star out of 5. All right, here we go. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. Okay, did 11 books, not 12 or 13, so a little less than I thought. So also in the month of August, I was trying to complete the Goodreads Summer Reading Challenge. I have my TBR for the Goodreads Summer Reading Challenge in another video, and then my next video will be the Goodreads Summer Reading Challenge wrap-up to see if I completed it. Spoiler, I did not, but I did do a good chunk of it. Anyway, the first book, that I read in August, I actually listened to the audiobook, was The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas by John Boyne. I gave this a 4 to 5. So the reason I wanted to read this book is because I read The Heart's Invisible Furies this year, and I think that's been my favorite book of the year. I think it's one of my favorite books of all time. I just absolutely loved it, so I want to read other John Boyne books. The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas was also made into a movie. If you haven't heard about it, it's told from the perspective of an 8-year-old boy. Like, his age changes throughout the book because he's, it starts in 19X, and then goes all throughout. So anyway, this boy, he is German, his father is in the SS, and they get stationed near a concentration camp, and he develops a friendship with a boy who is in the concentration camp, and it's very short and sweet. I really liked this story. I finished it quickly, and I just think John Boyne's writing is really good. So yeah, 4 to 5. After that, I read Natalie Tan's Book of Luck and Fortune. I gave this book a 4 to 5. This book is about a girl who inherits her mother's San Francisco apartment, and on the first floor of the apartment was her grandmother's restaurant, and she's a cook herself. So it's about her reopening the restaurant, but also through reopening the restaurant, she has to kind of complete tasks to revive the neighborhood, the Chinese neighborhood that she grew up in. And it deals a lot with grief and Chinese culture, which I really appreciated and I thought was cool. I guess more even Chinese American culture, which I'm unfamiliar with, so that was neat to read about. I liked the book. There was a little bit of a romance, a lot about friendship and community, which I really liked. I don't think in fiction you read a lot about like community coming together, so I liked that aspect a lot too. The third book of the month was The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. Sorry, I feel like really stuffed up. I gave this book a 3 to 5. I listened to the audiobook. This is kind of like a murder mystery thriller. There are 7 university friends who get together every year for New Year's Eve. They get together in the Scottish Highlands at this really posh hotel, and it's just them, 2 other guests from Iceland, and the staff, and there aren't a lot of staff on site. And it goes back and forth, like from when they arrived to like after the murder took place. And then of course you find out who dies, who killed them, and secrets are revealed along the way. I thought it was just like an average thriller mystery. Like, it wasn't bad, but I don't think I'd recommend it either. Just average. After that, I read We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver. This one was recommended to me by a friend from work. And it was published a while ago, this book. I can't remember what year, but I think like before 2010. I gave this book a 3 out of 5. It is told via letters from a wife to her husband, and it just kind of goes there's something happened. Like the son, Kevin, he did something. We don't know what he did, although it's revealed quite early on in the book. And it talks about how the mom thinks like why Kevin became the way Kevin did, and just about the family dynamics and her relationship with Kevin, and mother and sons, mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, fathers and daughters. It was interesting. It was really long though, and they have made a movie about it. So I guess I would recommend it. I think it's different. It's a different kind of book. After that was Once More We Saw Stars by Jason Green. This is a nonfiction book. Jason Green is a writer, a journalist, and he wrote this book after his 2-year-old daughter died of a tragic, horrific accident, a freak accident. She was in New York sitting on a bench with her grandma, and a brick fell off a building and hit her in the head, and she died at 2 years old. It's really sad. The book just talks about grief and him grieving over his 2-year-old daughter, and how him and his wife's grief, and how they came together as a couple to grieve together, to overcome that, moving on from their daughter's death. It was a really good eye-opener. I've never read a story like that before, not a nonfiction, so I liked it. After that, I read Are You Sleeping? And the reason I'm is because this book had so much potential. I listened to this audiobook, and I really like books, especially audiobooks that have podcasts in them, and this is one of those. So it did that aspect really, really well. And even the characters, like I thought the characters, the plot, where it was, the podcast bit, the journalist, like the secrets, everything was so good. But then the writer just kept falling short with delivering, especially at the end. Like, basically, this podcast starts after like 15 years, this man was murdered. So the main character is this man's daughter. She's a twin, and someone was put away for his murder, but it wasn't the right guy. So this podcast is trying to figure out, did this young boy actually commit the murder, or was it something else? Was it someone else? So throughout the podcast, and from the point of view of the main character, we're figuring out that he didn't kill him, the man. But the ending is just so obvious. So obvious, which is disappointing. It should have been more twisty. After that was The Summer of Sunshine. The Summer of Sunshine and Margot by Susan Mallory. I loved this book. 5 out of 5. It was the perfect summer read. It's just like a slice of life story of two twins in their careers and their love life, and just figuring things out. And I just loved it. I haven't read such a fun, lighthearted, easygoing book, but still wrapped me into the story in a really long time. So I really loved that book. Set in Los Angeles, great characters, good dynamic between all of them. I just loved it. After that, I reread Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So the second Harry Potter book, obviously a 5 out of 5. Love. I don't even think I should say anything about it because you probably already know what this book is about. After that was What My Mother and I Don't Talk About, 15 Writers Break the Silence. So this is an essay anthology about relationships with mothers. It's a nonfiction. So yeah, the title says, there are 15 different writers, so a bunch of different stories. Of course, I enjoyed some more than others. I really liked reading the raw, honest stories between these writers and their mothers. I really like nonfiction personally, and I thought this was a really interesting topic because I've never read anything like it before. And there's a bunch of different stories that I think are really interesting, and some of them kind of make you think, which I liked. After that, I listened to the audiobook of The Last Time We Say Goodbye by Cynthia Hand. This book is a young adult. It's about a teenager who her brother has committed suicide, and it's just kind of her dealing with that. I read a lot of books about death this month and grief. And I just gave it a 2 out of 5. I mean, maybe for a younger audience they would enjoy it more. I just thought it was, I mean, I guess it is made for a younger audience. I just didn't really enjoy it. I thought it was just kind of bland and boring, actually. After that, I listened to the audiobook of Every Note Played by Lisa Genova. Genova? I think that's how you pronounce it. 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5. Boring. So boring. Like, nothing happens. Basically, this man and woman, they're divorced. He's a famous pianist who has, like, throughout his whole career, like, had affairs on her, so they're divorced now. And then he's diagnosed with ALS, which is famous. Like, you would know that because that's the one that Stephen Hawking had, the disease. So he gets diagnosed with that, and then she basically takes care of him until he dies, and nothing happens, and it's boring. I wouldn't recommend it at all. After that one was that was it. That was the last book I read in the month of August. Oh, August ended on a really bad note, 2 and 1 stars. But I did have a good reading month in August, I think, overall. If you've read any of them, or if you are going to read any of them, I'd love to know what you think, because I love talking about books, obviously. But that's it for the video, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!